Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Well, today is the day after. For those of you who might not know, yesterday I was able to experience my first chicken barbecue at St. Augustine's, otherwise known as Clucky. Clucky, yes, that's what we go by. And I do want to report that I had an opportunity to see the bishop this weekend. For those of you who don't follow Facebook or look at things like that, he saw us singing the song Clucky the other week, and he loved it, and he reposted it. So we're famous, we're going viral. But anyway, it was so amazing to me that we were here yesterday dealing with food, trying to feed 250 meals to people, either here or having them purchase them and take them away. And the amazing thing was that today's gospel is the feeding of the 5,000. So I thought, well, there is some discrepancy there between 5,000 and 250. Plus, if you look at the gospel, what it's saying was there were 5,000 men and women and children. So perhaps there were 15,000 or 10,000. We don't know what the numbers were, but that was significantly larger than 250 meals that were to be prepared. So I thought it would be wise of us to pay attention to what happened and how all this took place. Because if you look at the numbers, you see there were 12 disciples, right, with Jesus. And I started counting the number of people that we had involved. So we had planning before anything started, many hours, certainly of Rob's time. And then we had 2 days of preparation here. And then we had 8 grill masters, I believe, doing the grills. We had at least 30 people that were inside working at some time or other. So we're somehow or other approaching 50, and I don't know how many hours, to generate 250 meals. Now, the other story that we have to look at, right? There are a couple important things that I want to point out here. And the first is that this gospel begins with a phrase that was left out of the lectionary for whatever reason. But it says basically that after a certain event, Jesus got into the boat. And the event that precedes this in the gospel is Jesus finding out about the death of John the Baptist. So Jesus was going off to be alone. He was obviously grieving. This was his cousin. This was his partner, right, in bringing the kingdom of God to the people. And so here was a man who obviously was very sad and needed some space and got into this boat to go off. But for however it happened, whatever reason, the people found out that he was doing this, and they, on foot, walked to where he was going to be to meet him. Now, if you and I were of that mindset, we probably would, how shall I say, fly under the radar, kind of like slip away, waving perhaps as we go off to do what we need to do or what we want to do or what we desire to do, but not Jesus. He stopped. He stopped and he embraced this crowd, and it says that he cured the sick. Well, with 5,000 or 10,000 or 15,000 people, there must have been a lot of people who were demanding his attention for that. But he didn't, again, turn away. He stayed for the day, and he was with them. And now it comes nighttime, and my favorite people in the Bible are always these disciples, right? It's kind of like, so what are we going to do now, Lord? Like here we have all these people, more than 250, all these people, and they're hungry. And Jesus says, well, go get them food. And they look at him, I'm sure, like, are you crazy? There are 5,000. And what we have so far are these 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and we're supposed to feed 5,000 people? How is that even possible? I mean, can you imagine being in that situation? Yesterday was glorious because we were all there and we were all working together, and it was just flowing so nicely. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to be part of. But here they have what is really an impossible task, right? But Jesus just very quietly said, give me what you have. Give me what you have. And then he took the bread and he looked towards heaven. I mean, the beautiful thing about this story, too, is that it's in each of the Gospels. And they have different accounts of what exactly transpired. But this was obviously a major event in the life of Jesus on this earth, because all four Gospels tell the story. But anyway, so Jesus takes the bread, looks heavenward based on Matthew, and he breaks the bread, and he asks God to bless it. And then he gives it to the disciples. He gives it to them. And he says, go. You go and feed. So he does that. And then they collect the leftovers, and there are 12 baskets that are filled. 12. Now, I think yesterday when we were finished, we were still trying to, we had like 20 chickens left or something like that at the end, you know. Those of us on the grill thought that the chickens were multiplying. I want you to know that. Because I know Janie at the end said, these things down here, they just keep going and going and growing. At one point we thought they were rabbits, but no, they were really chickens. But anyway, so they had more than they had started with. They had more than they had started with. And so, you know, we call this a miracle. One of Jesus' miracles. We had the miracle, the wedding at Canaan when he turned water into wine, and the raising of Lazarus from the dead, and all these wonderful stories and these miracles that occur. And as I was thinking about this, and the feeding of the 5,000 and the other miracles, there's a common denominator. There are a few common denominators in all of what transpires. And the first thing is that, you know, these people came to Jesus. They came seeking him. And out of 5,000 plus people, you have to believe that some were desperate, some were probably racing to get there, some were probably coming with great doubt, like, yeah, well, people say that this guy can do these things, but I don't know, I don't believe them. Some might have come with fear over what is really going on here. They killed John the Baptist, now what are they going to do to this guy, you know? So there was probably some fear in their approach. There was anxiety, no doubt. And if nothing else, you know, have you ever been to like a big concert and you're sitting in the back of the group and you can't even see, you have no idea what's going on. And certainly back then they didn't have loudspeakers, you know, so some of them were probably feeling lost and not really part of it. The ones who were on the fringes, right? So all these different scenarios are going on within this crowd of 5,000 plus people. And Jesus simply takes what is offered to him, this small amount, and he offers it to God. And the needs are satisfied of each of the people present. Not only were they satisfied, but it was greater than what they needed, more abundant. So these small little 2 loaves, 5 loaves and 2 fishes were more than sufficient once God blessed it and they were distributed. Now, there are a couple things to pay attention to here, because you see, the other common thread in all of Jesus' miracles that I saw were people, right? It wasn't just Jesus. There were people involved. People who came to Jesus and said, my brother is dead. People who came to Jesus and said, we're out of wine. And he says, go and get the jugs. The people are always part of the miracle. They bring what they have and they offer it. And then Jesus offers it to God, and it is blessed and it is transformed to satisfy the needs of those who are present. And so this whole thing unraveled to me really says it's about us, it's about people who come to God with expectations, with fear, with doubt, with anxiety, with whatever, but they come to God and they offer the little that they have. And God blesses and God transforms. And this happens on an individual level, and it happens on a corporate level. Right? For those of us who have experienced this, we can tell our own stories, right? Of we have whatever brokenness we have, whatever needs we have, whatever anxiety we have, whatever doubts or fears. If we bring them to God, we know because we have lived it, we have experienced it, and we can testify to the reality that when we do this, we are transformed. Our lives are transformed. And maybe for only that moment or for that event or for that time period, but it happens. It happens and it's real. This God who created us, this God who loves us unconditionally, that's the God who transforms. But we're involved. And then there's something else that's important to notice, that once we're transformed, we're given work to do. Right? So with the disciples, Jesus offers the blessing, or asks for the blessing, and then he hands it to the disciples. He didn't do it. He said to the disciples to it. With Lazarus, Jesus says to Lazarus at the tomb, Lazarus, come out. And he stands up and he walks out. A man who was dead stands and walks out, but he's all bound up, right? And Jesus turns to the people and he says, you unbind him. You, people who are present, you do the work. I do the transformation, but you are involved. You need to reach out. You need to finish this transformation. And so, whether it's in our individual lives, whatever pain we might be suffering, or sickness we might be enduring, or struggles we might be going through, if we bring the little that we have and just say, God help me. God help me. That's simple. We are transformed. We are transformed. Sometimes it doesn't happen on a physical level, but it always happens on a spiritual level. It always happens in our hearts. It always happens. All we have to do is ask. And so the word that kept coming to me for miracle is the unimaginable, right? Things that we can't even begin to imagine can happen if we just bring it to God. If we just ask that simple question, please help me. Please help me. The unimaginable can and does happen. And then we are to offer it back to God and to those around us and share it. And the abundance will be greater than we can even imagine. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that St. A's is all about food. We aren't all about food, but we certainly have a lot of food going on. We feed a friend, we feed the kids on campus, and we have this clucky, miracle thing that happens, and we have Rhodey Outposts where we're feeding hungry kids on campus. Isn't that just fabulous? Because what that says to me is we are in the middle of God transforming this world that we live in, this community that we are part of. This campus is being transformed one by one by one. And so I heard rumblings yesterday of the amount of money that we made, and I was thinking, that's not important. That's not important. Because I saw the people who were present here. I saw the joy of God in us. I saw us interacting with one another in such a beautiful way. What a witness us being together is to others. But then I also saw those who were coming. I saw a young man walking down the street. He was kind of like, I smell that chicken. With the headphones and all that. And so I go racing over, of course, because I'm the shy one. And I said, are you hungry? Oh, yes. And I said, would you like a meal? And then I got permission from the head cluckmaster to give a meal to this student who was walking by, who was here for the summer. And I know that he was touched. I know that he was touched because I went inside and I said, and you get to choose your own sides, And he was like, woo, But in that moment, who knows what was going on in that young man's mind, And I saw others who were coming back, and a couple who lives up the street who come here every year, because they know that we're doing this every year. And just the people coming in, as we were embracing them, they were being touched. They were being transformed. They were experiencing the love of this God that is more than unbelievable. More than unbelievable. And so whether it's on our own individual level, where we're offering ourselves to God, or our food that we are feeding others, lives are being transformed. Miracles are happening. So the takeaway is I see bumper stickers that say, expect a miracle. Well, we can expect a miracle, but we have to be part of the miracle, you see? Because in order for the miracle to happen, we have to be present. We have to be able to see it when it happens, right? Miracles are happening around us all the time. I mean, for me, a seed that is planted in the ground and grows is a miracle. But, that's on a different level. But don't just expect a miracle, be part of a miracle. Offer what we have to God, and it will be transformed. Not might be. It will be transformed. And it will be more abundant than we can even imagine. And you might not be able to see it today, and you might not see it tomorrow. But it will come to fruition where you can see it. But it happens at the moment that we ask, at the moment that we offer ourselves to God or our resources to God, they are transformed. Amen.
Amen.